Quality and entropy. Topo, I met the layer talk actually in a while ago for Top Layer that him and Sin did. Really good stuff they put on. It was actually at the Holiday Inn where we did the event last year. Good stuff. I met him and as soon as I heard this guy speak, I was like, wow. This guy's really charismatic, really good vibe, a lot of stuff going on, really good content. He does, I guess his biggest thing is called the Red Stack he does. It's been amazing. My friends have taken it personally. They said they loved it. And he's going to speak to you now for a while, up to about 2 hours, him and his buddies. And expect a lot of good content. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, first off, I'd like to, just say that I just got done eating lunch, and you always feel weighed down. What's up with that? But in any case, I'd like to thank you guys for coming, because this is an awesome event. As I don't know how many people of you guys came to the dinner last night, but it was a good vibe. Hopefully you guys got that. One of the reasons why I love coming and speaking is pretty much because I love the community. The community helped me. I've always been involved with stuff where people are coming together, and I like to bring that vibe to the table, as well as teaching you guys how to get laid and all that other bullshit. But I'd like to thank all the other speakers, because I wasn't here the first day, but the last 2 days we saw some awesome people. It was awesome seeing Adam. It was the first time I saw him speak. Awesome seeing Mihao, first time I saw him speak. Sen I've seen speak a ton of times. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to come here and give you guys a little bit of something to work with and take home with. So I handed out, or actually Fidelio back there, handed you guys these little write-ups and stuff. And basically what that goes through is there's going to be a few things that I want to talk about in my experience in the community that have to do with certain topics, like your motivations, your expectations, and your perspectives. So there's like a little workshop deal there on the second page. If you take a look at that, on the third page, there's some more dealing with that. On the second page, or on the third page, sorry, fourth page, I can't count. There's stuff which is information about the stacks that I do, which everybody is always asking. In fact, at dinner last night, everybody was kind of hitting me up about that with my little circle, and asking me about details about that. So if you want to know how I go about it, there's little profile questions there, and then there's actually an example of somebody's story which they gave me. What's interesting about this story, and it's actually all true from this guy. Of course, you don't have his name, but he gave me permission to use it. If you read it, it reads kind of like a DLV, and that's kind of what I go for. Is if you have whatever experiences in your life, you can actually make them sound good. And then beyond that, there's a contact page which has your name and your email and phone, what city you live in, and what you'd like to talk about on a phone consult, which means if you fill that out and tear it off and give it back to Fidelio, who is back there, we will contact you probably in the next 10 days and email you when you'd like to schedule a 15-minute phone consult with myself or a few other people who I work with. So that's kind of a good deal. But what I wanted to talk about in this speech actually has to do with a little bit different stuff. I came into the community I read the game. I read the game probably a little over 2 years ago. And what I did was, I never read the whole thing. I read part of it. And it was given to me by my ex-girlfriend, and she was like, haha, this is, some funny shit. And I read it, and I'm like, yeah, dude, these people look like freaks. And then immediately afterwards, I went online and looked it all up. and immediately I bought stuff. And immediately I was looking at ebooks and things like that. And actually all those ebooks probably said everything right. I still have them somewhere. But I never did any of them. And so that was kind of the problem with it. And I went about 9 months in that. And then I was like, dude, I got to take a boot camp. And I finally took a boot camp, and it was awesome. It changed my entire life. Sin was actually one of the instructors, Captain Jack, 10 Magnet, and one other dude who I don't know his little name deal. But it was an amazing experience, and it changed my life. And when I started getting good at it, I happened to live in the same city as Captain Jack. And after about 4 months, I really started to get good with this thing and be able to actually approach and get numbers and get makeouts and all this stuff, right? And then Captain Jack was telling me, hey, dude, you're really good. Let me give you a few pointers. And I took them, and I went with them and ran and got even better. And then they were like, hey, you could instruct. You could instruct with us. And I'll hook you up with Sin. And I started to instruct. And all these things happened, and it got to so much to the point where, and I think everybody can relate with this, where you get to the point where you get fluent in it, and you kind of wonder, man, am I doing the right thing, or am I living the lifestyle I wanted? I just had this awesome night where I was sitting in VIP and fucking chicks were all over me, and you go home and maybe you have a chick in your bed or maybe you don't, and it's just like, shit. Life becomes somewhat unfulfilling. And my background has always been, basically right now I'm 30, and when I was, yesterday, how many people are over 21 here? There's a bunch of you guys. How many people are over 25? All right, jeez. How many people are 30? All right. Yes! but in any case, when I was thinking about this stuff, in my experience, I was always like a kid that got into a lot of trouble. I had an interesting childhood, and I think everybody can relate with that. We all come from some sort of Jerry Springer society. And one of the things that has helped me a lot, even back then, because I had big changes which happened when I was around 17 to 20, used to be into a lot of drugs and shit and fucking up a lot of stuff. Of course, I didn't learn how to talk to women, which lent me to end up here. But I learned kind of how to deal with certain things, and I ended up having to kind of resurrect that in my time in the community here. And actually in the past, I'd say 2 months or so, I've had the fortune to work with a lot of students who've ended up kind of teaching me. And so one of the things I wanted to talk about were your motives coming into this, your expectations from it, and your perception of what the community is supposed to draw towards you. And so on that sheet, there's something which talks about those things. If you take the time while I'm talking to fill out some of the things of what you might have towards expectations or towards motives, towards gaming, towards your personal self, that would be positive and negative, and how they're all neatly laid out there. But and even your perceptions on things, we can get into that a little bit later. But let's see, where the fuck was I? This never happens. When does any of you guys see me on stage when I start to freeze up? I always can talk. But so in any case, 6 weeks ago I started working with a lot of guys that really helped me out and seeing a lot of things, and it made me look back. It made me look back to where I was in this point where, shit, man, why did I get involved in this? I wanted to be involved in the community, basically when I signed up, to meet people, to meet the women that I wanted, and to have maybe multiple girlfriends, to be able to. I always had a cool identity. I worked as a photographer. I had traveled all around playing music. I had worked in film and theater quite a bit. And I always was surrounded by a lot of people, yet at the same time I had a girlfriend that I always thought in the back of my head, man, maybe I could get somebody better. Or maybe, I like that girl over there, but I don't know how to talk to her. And that all got solved for me about 5 months in the community, where I learned how to do that. But then later, as my poo-ness arose, my motives and my expectations changed. I wanted to actually, compete, which can be a healthy motivator, which can be something which you can use to empower. But at the same time, I used it a little bit more to do that AMOG thing. And it's funny because the voice that I'm hearing from a lot of the instructors this time is more along the lines of hey, we respect each other. This is the first time that I've been involved with a lot of different people who teach in this thing, where people are actually coming together. And it was awesome to see, yesterday when I saw a lot of the instructors come in and kind of drop some of that ego. Because I've always thought that was a weird thing about the community. And what happened was, God, man, maybe about, I'd say right about at the turn of the year, I wasn't necessarily in the best space game-wise, because as Adam said earlier yesterday, that the game can be a dangerous thing. It can be something where it is, you can use it in a lot of the wrong directions. And I definitely have. I mean, I can sit here and talk about a lot of the different stories, I guess, in terms of different sexual escapades and screwing over this person and that person. But what I wanted to bring was that there's more to it. and that's kind of the essence of what I do with the stacks that I do. And so how many people here have heard about like what I write? Come on, I wish there were more than that. Really? But basically what I write is if you give me like the story of your life, I kind of turn it into, I don't necessarily want to say a script, but I turned it into like a 90-page document of what you know, how to properly DH for yourself, properly talk about yourself, and also use stuff like framing and all sorts of interesting theoretical stuff, which actually Sin touched on a great deal yesterday, but like working qualification and cold reading and all that sort of stuff into aspects about your life. But what people are always surprised about when they send me these profiles, and again, if you have time, read the one that I attached there, is they send me these stories, and every time they tell me like, dude, are you going to be able to work with that? You know, all this shit about my mom in the past, and actually, the guys who I sent is, it's pretty intense. But it's always a pleasure for me to be able to work with those things. And where that comes from is just, I think, my background. And where I see the community changing is going in that direction, where people are talking about inner game stuff. I hear Tyler, and somebody who I respect very much in the community, I met him and spent a week with him in Hawaii, is TD, and he really changed my perspective on things. And it was actually at that turning point where I was like, dude, am I still going to teach? Am I still going to add something to this? Or am I going to, you know, just kind of stop because it's getting out of hand? And I don't know how many people there can relate with that. How many people have been involved in this for 3 months or more? And then how many people like 6 months or more? And so a lot of you guys can very fluidly kind of like open up sets, and you get that attraction stuff going, and it feels good. No? Yes? Maybe so. and it feels good, and it's something which keeps you going. But at the same time, how many of you guys feel at the same time where you don't feel so great afterwards, where it's just kind of like a bummer? Nobody, huh? What the fuck? And how many of you guys, like, this is another thing that a lot of instructors will talk about, is, you know, we've all done this and had awesome experiences with women, but at the same time, we've also had some terrible ones. In fact, like my worst relationships have happened in the community, not outside of it. Anybody relate with that? This gentleman up here is the only honest man. But for me, so that was something that I wanted to, oh, I see you. But for me, it was something that I wanted to teach guys. It's like, look, dude, we package this thing like we're teaching you guys how to get women, and that's great, and that's something which drew me to it. But at the same time, that only lasts for a couple months. That only lasts as food for us for a little bit of time. And you know, what facilitates all those things, what makes your state work, which makes your, you know, your attitude, your general presentation, that's what I feel attraction generally is. What propels that is your lifestyle, what you feel about yourself. And with myself, and especially in the people who I've worked with and had the fortune to teach with and who've also ended up teaching me, is that I learned to take my experiences and things about myself and turn them into good things. Like, what's something that somebody out there has used as a motivator for themselves? Like to open up a set. Anybody, not everybody at once. You were horny, which could be a positive motivator. Like sex is definitely a motivator, which is something which is healthy and good, and we all feel it. But it's one of those things that is so core within us, it can go in either direction, you know, and it can manifest itself in so many different ways. And you know, for myself, and as amazing as this community is, you can definitely take that and learn. And somebody who's as perverted, and I don't know if you guys have read my shit, but is perverted and kind of twisted in that sort of way as myself, you know, you can get kind of creative with it, and you can end up in the wrong direction. What's something else that might be a good motivator?
This is your life, and it's ending 1 second at a time.
Right, and that's true. Like, I agree with that. And one of the things that I always think is important to keep in mind, that when we come into points of changes with our life, it is at a point of desperation. And I hear that, you know, beaten into us in the community, that look, you know, this is your life, and it's ending 1 second at a time. You need to open up that site. You need to man up. You need to propel yourself with, you know, with generally that fear backing you up. And from my experience, and believe me, I bought into that just as much as everybody else, but from my experience, is that your fears and motivators like that, yeah, that motivates you to change, but what maintains that change? What should maintain that change should be things that are a little bit more positive. Things that you could say, as the saying goes, it's not inspiration, it's desperation, which leads us to change. But what maintains that needs to be something of inspiration. It needs to come from a good place. And the things that we don't focus on enough in the community are things which empower us in that sort of way. And I actually see it taking that different direction. That was one of the awesome things about seeing everybody speak, is that I really didn't hear the same typical things that most instructors in this field talk about. But, geez, in any case, so let's think of some positive motivators that might help us, like work and open up sets. What might they be? Anybody? It should be fun. So fun is a key thing, and that's something that we talk about in terms of state. So what manages your state? You know, if I'm having a bad day, yet I've done everything possible in order to make my day good, in order to empower it in some way, how bad can my bad day be? Yet if I'm left vulnerable to things and not doing the right things about myself, taking care of my own like inner game, whatever you call it, or myself, I guess mentally, spiritually, financially, all those things, my bad day can be terrible. It can turn me into, totally allow me to collapse upon myself. But so what manages your state? What are some things that people do outside of game?
Work out, thinking positive.
So thinking positive. Yeah, I agree with that. But what actions can you do to make that happen? You said workout?
Work out, read.
Work out, read, but what kind of stuff?
Travel.
Travel, exactly. But I see we have a real empowered group here today. Well, one of the things that I work with a guy named Priest, and he's a military dude. And I actually work with Fidelio out there, and he's a military dude. And one of the things that is always talked about with those guys is that they wake up every morning and they do something consistent, whether it be exercise, whether it be some sort of meditation and with some new age flair to it. But whatever, it's like you start off your day doing the right thing. Just like when you start learning this stuff, when you start learning routines, or when you start learning natural game, whatever you want to call it, you start out by taking an action, and your actions lead to things. In fact, one of the most interesting things that I heard was that confidence is not something which is a belief in yourself. It's an action that's taken. And so confidence, in order to get that going, it takes compliance and all those other sorts of things. So let me ask this: of people out there, who's somebody that feels that they have a kind of like a bad identity, a poor identity work-wise? I know there's got to be a ton of you guys, but you don't want to raise your hand.
What do you mean?
Well, in terms of identity, how you present yourself, how you, I guess, come across to the ladies, so to speak. What do you try and present? Or anybody, really. Anybody else? Anybody else? I'm not going to pick on you because you have a good one, and you have a good one. What do you got?
I can be pretty shy sometimes.
You could be pretty shy. What do you do for work?
I do sales.
Sales. That's good.
So I'm good at talking to people.
Right. And then what's like family-wise? Your parents still together?
No.
So they're separate. Are you from here?
I'm born in Orlando. I live in Atlanta.
Okay. All right. So you're part of the Atlanta crew. In any case, so you're in sales. That's actually a good thing. But when I took my boot camp, they basically said, you work as a photographer. That's awesome. Talk about that. Talk about the people you've shot. Talk about the experiences that you've had in film. Talk about you playing music should come up like immediately. And the thing was I already kind of did those things, and I knew it didn't help, even though I still did what they told me to do. And I brought it up right away. But what that did was that got me a different style of of gaming. And it was very attraction based, and attraction game fucking works, and it is a lot of fun. Yet at the same time, it never felt like myself. And I know there's tons of people out there that have gone out and you've learned routines and you've learned different DHV stories, and that's the big, like, hindrance towards routines. It's like, man, I'm not being myself. But you can very easily take the idea and theory of routines, which would be like, push, pull, bait, hook, reel, release. You could use qualification, framing, and all that stuff. And when you learn and understand that, those routines are kind of like training wheels to get you going to be able to talk about yourself in ways that are very, game friendly, so to speak. So with yourself being in sales, that's actually a very easy one. But does anybody have one that's like computer programmer or what else? What else? What's something like really that you would think would not be good to bring up? Unemployed. Who said that? Unemployed is great. Unemployed is my favorite, actually. But no. So think about this. When you bring that up. Now, unemployed, what kind of work did you do before? Accounting and serving. Serving, waiting tables, serving? Okay. Dude, you don't have to hide the nod. It's all good. And then where do you want to go with it? Where do you see yourself? In 5 years? 2 years? Traveling. And why? What? Right. Right. So what's happening here is I forget, what's your Power Ranger name? Because I don't want to call out your real name. Libido. All right. So libido wants more of a sex drive here. But no, anyway. So the thing is one of the things that I like to do is that it's that what we want to convey is we want to convey to people in all those attraction switches, or however you want to base or weigh your game, is the attraction switches are very, very tangible things. They're not something which is concrete. And one of the things that's always in there is identity. And if you're unemployed, it's like, shit, make something up. What's your hobby? Oh, you like to play guitar? Well, you're a musician now. Dress like a musician. And those are some of the things that I heard during my boot camp of what to do. And I always thought that was weird because I've always been somebody who's been able to talk about something and kind of make it look good, which can be good and bad. But, well, hold on one second. But in terms of somebody who's unemployed, that's real easy. That's easy to present. Let's say you open up a set and you say, hey, you guys look nice, you seem friendly, cool, awesome. Like, all right, so which one of you in the group is the little sister? Because me, I was like a middle child, and I always loved like railing on, whatever. You work some sort of like neg or some sort of way to gain value over them with whatever attraction routines. And then you bring up, no, but it's really crazy. Do you have brothers and sisters? Yes? You have one? You have 3 brothers. What's your place in it? No, are you middle? You're oldest. So you go, with me, I was always the oldest brother, right? And dude, it's fucking funny because, like, dude, there's this aspect of being the older sibling where you're really responsible, but at the same time, you're like, I don't know, you just get off on like messing with people. So like, dude, you're totally like the, I don't know, you'd be the little sister, or maybe the middle one, because you have a little bit of maturity, but whatever. but come here for a second. Like, check it out. With myself, I always had this pressure, right? With my family. And I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I figured you'd understand it. But I've always had this pressure where it's like, dude, you got to perform, you got to do this and that, and you got to be responsible. And I've always been that person. And actually, I can see that a little bit in you, but you don't always. It's only when you're really settled down. But like, it's weird because right now I'm in this transition time where I'm just saying, fuck it. I'm gonna let anything come my way, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes. Dude, you should be writing this down because this is goddamn gold. But, or buy the tape, pre-order, $100. But you say like no, I'm just this person that's just saying fuck it. I'm doing my own thing, and I don't know what do you do for work? And then you check in with them, and they say like, oh yeah, I suck dick at the bathhouse, but I put facial hair on, so it's like a man sucking other men off. You go, dude, it's like the same fucking thing, man. Dude, totally. Like with me, I get all caught up in like all these passions, and that actually like it's hard for me to hold down. And when you're on your knees and shit, dude, I don't even know what the fuck's going on, but I know what's going through your head because I had to work at a no, just, but no, you go, you go into no. With myself, like, dude, I was waiting tables, I was working, all these jobs, but I wasn't being myself, and I had to walk away from it. And dude, I can see that with you, like you have those same things. But I bet, like, dude, who's one of your best friends? And they say, Melissa. Or they say Mitch, or whoever. And then you tell them, you go, dude, I bet you, like you have all those sides to you, but it doesn't really come out unless you're really comfortable with people. Like I bet Mitch totally sees this fucking crazy wild side to you. Like what's the craziest thing you've ever done? And so you work by using those tools, and I'll explain them here in a second, with parts of your life. And that's generally kind of the beginnings to a stack. But what's happening there is, one, you're using DHVs very lightly. DHVs are based on, whatever, attraction switches or all these things which makes women's pussies slide off the seat and slip and fall and have an eye pop out, which is another funny story that I have. But believe it or not. But anyway, so your DHVs are based off attraction switches. Well, you only need like one. You don't need to say me and 10 of my friends went and kicked this motherfucker's ass who was talking shit to my ex-girlfriend who, was in the 4th gangbang girl. And, fuck, I have a souvenir from it. I have 2 condoms, and one I've kept in a pickle jar to preserve the sperm. But you don't need to say that. You can just say a little bit. But all you need to do is talk about yourself, man. You talk about yourself, I'm the oldest child, I'm responsible. Responsible turns then into can help lead into a frame which is saying, look, I can keep a secret because like I'm a responsible person, but at the same time I like to go crazy with things to help frame them. But you're using that, you're leading all into that by using your grounding sequence. Any sort of grounding sequence is basically the story of your life and some sort of short package. But everybody here has like a fucking, 20 plus year, some of us 30 plus year, grounding story. But with yourself, that's easy. It comes across very fluid. Look, man, I'm at a point where I just said, fuck it. I'm going to do my own thing. And that's what I have to do to be myself. And you probably have those same passions too that make you fucking set off and just drop it. And you can even qualify off of that. When was the last time you actually just let everything go? And look at the valley down below me. Just joking, don't say that. But in any case, that's a very interesting way to do it. Now what's happening there is I'm using myself and my description of myself to begin my frames of saying, 1, I'm passionate. 1, I can drop things and act on my passions. So you're beginning those definitions of yourself and then you're putting it on them. And now you can put it on them with whatever cold reads. You can say like, you can state break and say, what's your, what's like one of your friends, one of your best friends? Just to snap them out of it. Or you can cold read and say, I bet you have 2 or 3 really good friends that kind of get to see that, that sort of wild side to you. And you bring it out. And so then it puts it on them as a frame. Does that make sense to you? And then afterwards you qualify out of it, which qualification has all sorts of uses and tools and fun sorts of theoretical talk. But generally how I use it is that it determines where I'm going to go next while gaining value. So it leads myself into whatever next routine there is. What's something that somebody has that's like, that they don't like to bring up, like about their family? Come on, don't we? What's up? Arguing. So you argue with your family.
Sure.
With you tight with your mom and dad?
Say that again? Am I?
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah. So you're close with them.
Yeah.
So what's the argument about?
Well, they're arguing between each other.
So they're arguing between each other. Where are they from?
Where are they from originally?
Yeah.
Israel.
Okay. So they're from Israel.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of. Do they argue about you?
No.
So they argue with themselves, but they stay together, right?
Yeah.
And you have your hand up. Valentino.
My family thing that I'd rather not discuss is I have to live and walk around eggshells when I'm around my father because he's like, there's like an asshole kind of alpha character. Always was like, being a singer, model kind of guy. It's still in his head even though he's like obese now. So it's like,
Right.
wow.
I'm on that road, but. Okay, so what he was saying is that he walks on eggshells around his father because his dad gets kind of angry about a bunch of stuff, and he has whatever complex that he has of being, stuck back in his 20s, and now he's no longer that way. But I'm looking for something that's more like okay, dude, my mom was fucking crazy. My mom used to sit there and have me watch Mommy Dearest and say, I'm not that bad, and it was. And so in any case, like, I had a lot of stuff. When I was 17, I had a drug overdose and I died. I can bring all that shit up in set. When I was, God, man, I've done so many fucked up things on tour while being wasted off my ass, and not wasted some of the times, in Florida even. And you know, stuff that I wouldn't be proud of. But I can always turn that into something which makes it work. And so that's what I'm saying is like, look, I hear all this stuff about people saying, you know, natural game stuff, and which is great. You should be yourself. But you should learn that what's propelling that is your life, how you view yourself, what your motives are going into it, what your you know, expectations are going into it, what your perceptions of the community are. And mine have changed throughout. And what I perceive happening in the community right now is people looking for something more than just lines to pick up people. But I'll tell you kind of how to do both. In that, like, look, I could bring up all sorts of stuff of my touring days, and I can say, like, look, man, you know what? I can be in set with somebody for 2 minutes and say this. And as long as I can maintain frame, and what I mean by maintaining frame is my interaction with them rather than the other type of frame, which is defining my communication with them. I can say, like, look, dude, you know, I can be like the fucking best person, or I can be the worst person in the world. And dude, there was this time, shit, man, like 5 years ago, I was on tour, and basically the name of the game is when you're playing music is you get drunk off of your ass and you go to the next town and you fucking raise hell, right? And you do whatever it takes, man. I mean, there was this time when I was actually in a strip club, and this is totally a true story, that I was wasted off of my ass, and it was like right when they were closing, and like the water on the ground was like fucking an inch or maybe 3/4 of an inch filled with, like, you know, piss and whatever else comes out of men's bodies when they're at a strip club. And dude, I was there, and I had to go to the bathroom really bad, and I'm all wasted, and I slipped and fell, and then I came out of there, and I had like all this shit all over me, and dude, everybody's had those experiences like that. But there was this time when I stopped doing all that, and it was about like when I was 28. And one of the things that happened was I lost all my friends. I lost, like, and you're stuck in that place, and I know like you guys can relate with this, is that where you're just going in circles, and your life isn't going like anywhere, and you've lost that sort of, like, you know, pattern that you've been involved in. And you know what happened is I thought back to this time when I was 7 years old, and I remember I have 4 grandparents, and I had one that really, really loved me because I was always the crazy kid. And I remember she had had a stroke right after my birthday, and my whole family was standing there in the hospital room, and you know, they were all crying. We went to go say goodbye. And I didn't know what to do. It was the time for the grandkids to go do that, right? And I went and stuck my head down on her lap. And I said, you know, Grandma, the first time I came home from school and I was crying and upset, you told me that, you know, just put my head on your lap and everything will be okay. And so I'm doing that now for the last time. And I remember everybody in the fucking room started crying and going like, oh, Jesus Christ. And I took off running because I was afraid and I thought I did something wrong. And my aunt came out after me and told me it was all right and all that stuff. But dude, that's one of the reasons why, like, I cannot judge. And that's why when I meet somebody, like, I see them as like I see them for the best. And fuck, man, I'm in kind of routine mode. This is a true story. But this is what I say, you know, to frame myself as being somebody who does not judge, and that they can act out on whatever actions they want to have with me, that they can experience things with me. But these are all true stories from my life. And they're things which people don't normally, I guess, talk about. But anyway, what's something else that somebody has? Nothing. Jesus Christ. You again.
Family members that are on drugs.
Family members that are on drugs. Is it like a sibling? Older or younger? Right. And so again, you could say, like, look, man, I'm somebody that's a fucking older brother. And dude, I love younger brother. Okay. You know, I love my younger brother, and I always will. And it'll always be somebody who, you know, I'm never going to not love them. Like, dude, and you can even check in and say, what I mean by checking in is you can kind of hone into them and get something back from them. It's like, dude, I mean, are your parents still together? Yes, no, maybe so. Let's say they say no, because that's more common. You go like, dude, but you're always going to love both parents, no matter how much they hate each other. And that's like the same fucking thing with me and my brother, but it's taught me so much about being human, and it's taught me so much about being somebody where compassion overrides things. And fuck, dude, there's been times when he's like stole shit from me or whatever it is, you know. He's broken shit, he's been angry, he's fucking tipped my mom, whatever it is. You know the stories better than me, I'm just making stuff up. But, you know, he's gotten into my porn collection and he sold it for crack. And then him and his friends shot a porn with it, and it's like my sperm is featured on this fucking goddamn porno that's up on the internet. But anyway, so yeah, you can cut that part out, but you can then go like you can then shape it into something where it's like, no, man, that's what taught me like how to see people for who they are, and that's one of the reasons why, look, I don't judge, and you know what? I'm a responsible person, and I can do all sorts of crazy stuff, but I'm always somebody that is responsible. You know, and can keep a secret. And then you want to lead it back to something which is more towards your dynamic. You can go, so like, if we do anything tonight, we're going to have to pinky swear on it, but you can trust me. And so you bring it back towards some sort of gaming mentality. But those things are beautiful things to talk about. I, in fact, of the people that I've worked with, I love it more when there's people that I can, you know, relate with on some level. That when I have a student that brings that side out of me, when I have a student that is somebody that has something interesting about our lives, because, dude, everybody fucking does here. And the thing that I'm so disappointed by when I meet people is that they have to tell me these other stories of that they, you know, fucked all these chicks, or that they, you know, won some powerlift competition and I don't know, won some sort of like alpha male thing, because that really has nothing to do with what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is we're trying to connect with people. We're trying to build connections in the right way. Now, you make the decision what that is, because as our friend Shaft talks about so eloquently, is you're just doing them a favor, all these not. Anyway, but he just voices, anybody who's seen it knows what I'm talking about. Anybody who doesn't is probably like, what the fuck is he saying? But, but anyway, you can take game wherever you want it, but make sure that it's someplace where it's going to work out well for you. Make sure it's someplace where it is coming from yourself. And how we do that is we cultivate ourselves. There's all sorts of different ways we do it, but one of the things that I like to think about is what's motivating me. Am I going to go out tonight to go get attention? Am I going to go out tonight to go impress my friends? Am I going to go out tonight to go, you know, get some edge over women? Because all of us fucking love that. Or am I going to go out tonight and have fun? Am I going to go out tonight and, you know, especially with somebody like me who's teaching this stuff, I always like to be curious about it. What's going to work? What's going to not? What is motivating me? Where is that coming from? Because then that shapes my expectations. What am I going to get out of it? And there's a saying, which a few of you may or may not get in here, but your inner game, your inner peace, whatever you want to call it, is directly proportional to what your expectations are out of an event. And to bring an example to that, what's something where, let's take the Under 21 conference. You guys are coming here and it's like, man, I paid $100 for this, and then these people are flailing around on stage, that would upset you. But if you just come in with the experience to allow it to happen, man, there's all sorts of experiences you guys can have around each other. But if you expect too much out of, you know, out of game or out of your results or what you're going to get from it, or if you expect too much from what you know, expect from impressing other people or what other people are going to think of you, that never works out in a good way. And then your perspectives on things. You know, what is something which would be a healthy perspective to go out and work game from, or work something where you guys are going out and trying to, you know, talk to people, make connections. Not everybody at once. Having fun. But even beyond that, what about relationships? Making people laugh. But what about building bonds with people? How many people in here got involved in this to rack up a bunch of lays, and that was it? I know. And me too. But and then how many people here got involved in this to actually meet a girlfriend? Or have options? Let's change that to have options to meet a girlfriend, the girl they wanted. I know. But Rack up a bunch of lays is number one. That was number one for me. How many people came in here just to gain some sort of like, just to gain confidence over this aspect of their life? Right. So the thing is we got to look at that. I mean, the thing is, everybody comes into this, how all of our advertising is written is like, you can get laid right now, and you can. Dude, getting laid is fucking easy. You know, getting good with women is something which is very easy, but building a lifestyle which maintains that is the tough part. And that's where it's a long process. Everybody in this room, too, has pretty much been doing this for over 6 months. Dude, I'm probably going to see your faces again when and everybody who knows me knows I go out and talk to layers, I put myself out there, and I communicate. Everybody knows that is going to, I'm going to see you guys again. I'm going to see your faces. And the thing is, if you haven't been that guy that's going out and getting the women that you want, dude, that will happen over time if you stick with like one consistent system and don't congeal all around to fucking everywhere. But anyway, that part is the easy part. But to formulate like a road where this is something that you guys can look at somebody and say like, dude, I want what that guy's got and I can get it. I want to be that person. I want to walk around with that sort of confidence. I want to be that person where I don't worry about things anymore. If I go home alone any night, it's because I choose to. You know, all that stuff takes a lot longer to go through. What is something identity-wise, let's see, from somebody on this side of the room? Nothing. Really. I hear crickets. Anybody over here? Mm-hmm. What's your career? Computer programmer. Dude, there's so many people in the community that are computer programmers. But the thing is how we package that. Do you ever bring it up, or do you say you're Dana White?
They bring it up like that. I didn't even know who he was until they went to Google Images.
Hey, dude. Dude.
It's kind of funny, like, say I went for 2 weeks to San Francisco, and there, that identity is actually really cool. You know, Silicon Valley, and everything else. So it's interesting when my career becomes a positive trait there.
Right.
That's what I expect out of people.
But you know what? Okay, so here's what we got to understand, is everybody's identity is based on how you present it, all right? It's how you present it. Now, there's instant social proof that you gain with certain types of identity. Like if you're a fucking porn star and you're in Guam, well, maybe it does mean shit. But if you're somewhere else where it has no value, it has no value, it has no definition. It has nothing. If you're a computer programmer in most areas where, like if you're a computer programmer in Vegas where Dana White lives, it's like meaningless. But at the same time, it's how you present it. It's how you present it. That's the important thing. And with programming or with anything which is technical, everybody always veers away from. How many people in here are like computer people? Dude, that was actually funny because people rose their hands with pride that time. But anyway, so one of the things you can say with that is like, dude, you know what? When I was growing up, you can say it's very very early on in set. Again, the same thing is that when I was growing up, it was one of the most. I was always like a curious kid. I was always a kid that was always like fiddling with stuff, and my dad would get these colored blocks and I'd put them together and all these sorts of things. But I would get so excited about it. And then at the same time, when I grew up, how I kind of shaped was I always maintained that type of curiosity, or I always maintained that type of the drive to have to do those things.
Feels like I'm qualifying myself, though.
So what? Just hold on your horses for a second. But you're defining yourself. You're not qualifying yourself. Like qualifying yourself would be asking for permission, asking for them to judge you, and you're not. You're defining yourself. You're telling who you are. Because I could even say like, well, look, dude, I'm some sort of actor who's been in all these plays. That's not qualifying yourself. So with computer programming, you're just saying, look, no, I was always this kid that was, really curious and really, ambitious and adventurous, and, sometimes I'd step over the line. And, one of the things is that I always, meet people, and, I can know, fucking right away that you have those same sides to you, too. And, you know what? I bet... Here, give me your hands for a second. then you can do some sort of cold routine where you go like, all right, I want you to look at me in the eye and think about something which is like totally fucking, think about something totally embarrassing. And then they do it and they laugh because they always fucking laugh, or do they? Because they always laugh with it, and you go like, oh, dude, whatever, dude. It had nothing to do with that. It actually had nothing to do with that. But it was. I just wanted to see how you'd react to it, because there's people that go two different ways, in a situation where they're going to go like they're going to get angry about it, or they're going to find humor in it. And you found humor in it, and that was fucking awesome. Yeah. I can get all into the weird theoretical stuff, but what that is doing is that's causing them to react, and it's causing them to jump through certain hoops. Now, in the meantime, you had some lead-in story about how you felt and how you, look at certain things and perceive things and being passionate about it. But then you then turned it into a routine where you gain certain sort of rapport with them by cold reading them, basically. And the cold read would be like, dude, but you reacted and you had like a good sense of humor, but there's this other side to you too that's like, dude, I don't even want to bring up. Like, you'll fucking get pissed off, and then you're baiting them, and then they're like, no, tell me. And you're like, dude, I don't know. All right. When I asked you that, you kind of showed this other side to you that I don't even want to know about. Like, if all the lights went off right now, dude, I'd have to fucking run, because it would be like you'd have me in some crazy fucking position that whatever. We're going to drop it right now. But then you go right back. I'd say you go right back to defining yourself. Where it's like, no, but it's awesome when I meet people that are all about like connecting with folks.
Sexy stereotypes, and Florida's like a service-based industry, so like the bartenders.
So you're telling me that computer programming is now a sexy stereotype? Dude, make that happen. That's your job and your job and your job.
Has been the occasional girl where that was kind of her thing. Like, wow.
Where, in San Francisco?
Here too, but San Francisco, yeah.
All right. Usually that doesn't happen. But that's good that you found it. But dude, I'll tell you this. If I start talking about photography with people, dude, they give a shit for a second. If I talk about people who I've photographed, they give a shit for a second. But if I want to embellish it a little bit and use that, because here's like the proper way, the textbook way of me DHVing myself. I'd say like, dude, it's fucking awesome because I was, my brother wrote this book, and like I was with all these UFC people, and I was photographing them, and I made friends, and dude, let me tell you something. When I was with Randy Couture, there's actually a picture of me in the book with me and him, and we're hugging, and this other guy, Jason Mayhem Miller's there to my other side. It's just like the shit, dude. But those are the people I rolled. That means like so little. That only gets me so far. Where does that get me? And now, actually, those things are true, but those things are not true about myself. And maybe how I could frame that would be like, dude, but Randy's this guy who is like, I don't know if you've ever met him, but he gives you like his full attention, and he's like a total family man. But at the same time, he's like this ogreish brute dude, and it's like he has the two sides to people, that are so awesome. Like there's this like sweet side, and then there's this other side which is just like, fuck, dude, I wouldn't want to walk into that guy in an alley. But like everybody has those sides, and then I'd put it on them, and I'd say like, dude, but with you, you're like somebody that is, God, man, you have, like, I bet you're a girl that like can really like piss dudes off, or really piss guys off. You can totally get under their skin and like fuck with them. And sometimes I think you enjoy that, but other times, like, I don't know, you also have this need for like, some sort of fulfillment, or you have this need to be, I don't know, just be made to feel like a woman, or, and you go along with those things. So, right. But that's multi-threading. So who tells a story that's consistently, that tells it streamlined? Like no stories are like, yeah, man, I flew into Orlando and the flight was amazing and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and then I went to the hotel room, and then the cab driver told me to go to this hotel instead. We got into the hotel room and it smelled like cigarette smoke, even though it was not. You just don't talk in that sort of way. So what we're trying to do is that. But what's something else that's a unique identity to people? You're in the military, right? All right. So in the military, this is always something which would happen when I work with folks in the military, would be that they'd never like to bring it up. And is this true or no? Oh, yeah. But everybody, it actually works really well, you know, and when people bring that up. But there's two things to that. It's that, from what I get, because I've never been in the military, but the two things that I get from that is, one, there's a sense of pride to it and identity, that I don't want to use it towards like any sort of advantage. And then there's another side to it where it's like, I guess it's kind of like the same thing, that it's a private deal. I'll get to you in a second. But at the same time, there's ways of packaging that. You could even bring that up. But you know what, I never bring this up. And I only bring it up to people that I really, really like and meet. But there's this whole side to me where I love to, ever since I was a little kid, or whatever it is, you know the story better than I wanted to be, I wanted to be a part of something which just made changes in things. You know, and it's so weird how that manifested. And dude, I've been in the Air Force for X amount of years, or X amount of time. And it's really like, it's changed my perspective on things. But that's how you do it. Your identity is what you say it is and how you bring it to somebody's, understanding, so to speak. What was your question? You motherfucker. Well, what is your...
Well, basically, because I'm from the military too, and
Okay.
I used to be, so I'm a veteran, and when I use it, it kind of seems like it's a try hard.
Like, how do you bring it up?
Like, I'll talk about it. So, so yeah, I used to be in the military. We did this thing back in Calibrating. I'm just going to tell you some story.
So you just drop it in
Yeah, but
and leave it.
in a story, but
This is another thing which is good. Like, this is something where you are bringing stuff up, and you're just kind of dropping it in. It's like, oh man, on this shoot the other day, it was blah, 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 blah. You know, but I'm not talking about being a photographer. I'm not talking about any sort of specifics. But at the same time, why not use like tactics that we know game-wise in order to help those work, like baiting, you know, and working push-pull. So if I were doing another seminar right now, I'd lay all this shit out. But what we, what the general things that we use push-pull, we use bait, hook, reel, release, whatever you want to call it. We use qualification, we use framing, we use compliance, dominance, logistics, all these things to help propel a conversation or a target in the right direction. But what you can do with that is throw a little bait in there to make it work. Throw a little push in there to make it work. And throw a little compliance, attach an action to it. So what you could say is like, no man, when I was out in California, dude, it was fucking weird. It was so weird. We were on base, and fuck man, this eagle came down and somebody shot it or whatever the fuck it is. But you can, dude, it's totally crazy. Like, dude, I don't know if you'll get it. I don't know if you'll get it, because the definition of that story, the frame of that story, and how I teach is the most important part, right? And so you can say like, and I'll make something up, but I'm sure you can translate this into something. But dude, I don't know if I can tell you, this is fucking nuts. Like this, we were out in the middle of the desert and they were testing on all this stuff, and my job with it was like, to sit back and observe and take notes or to press some button. And it was the weirdest fucking moment. Like there's this moment where everything tripped out on me for a second. And it was only me out of like the rest of the group or your unit, whatever you call it. And fuck, dude, it just made me think at that moment like how important, what your purpose is and what your life is. And I always felt good about it. And it's weird because my parents, they're actually from another country. And what I noticed is every single person in my unit who I met in the military, anybody who had a foreign parent, they had like a different idea and responsibility to their family than anything else. And dude, fuck, man. Are your parents still together? Yes, no, maybe so. Dude, like my parents, dude, they're still together and they fight like motherfuckers all the time. It's like crazy. And growing up, I didn't know what to think about it. And even when I'm at home, it's like, dude, I don't even know what to do. I still do the same things that I do when I was a kid and just go into the room. But man, it's like, it just made me see the differences of how you perceive things. And what I always know is that my family is going to stay together, and I'm going to stay together with wherever I am. I'm always going to have a foundation under me. And then you want to define it, all right? You want to get all those stories are there to induce or to start framing, to say what kind of a person you are. And then after that, you want to then somehow put it on them, or give it a vehicle, give it a road for them to drive across, right? And so you would say, no, man, like, but with you. You've probably done like all sorts of crazy stuff, right? Like, what was something you fucking hated about like the last guy you were with? What was something that really pissed you off? And then they say whatever, right? They say like, oh, he was just weird, or he was great, but I was fucked up, or whatever they say. Then you go like, dude, no, most guys are pussies. Like most dudes, and you can leverage yourself out of the way in this, and say like, dude, most dudes who grow up like the normal American lifestyle, they don't even know how to like treat a woman. They don't know how to be a man. They don't even know how to be like. Dude, let me tell you something. When's the last time some guy came up to you and just went and did this, and you pull behind their hair, and then you do a takeaway, and you just whatever. But it's implementing those same ideas of bait to get through your story, to have some sort of an emotional meaning or identity, and then you basically say what it means with your framing, right? But I don't know. Want to work more Israeli stuff in there? Then my friend was Lebanese, and I was like, you got stories. But in any case, so that's generally what I do, and that's what I do with the stacks, and that's like the very beginning or attraction areas of the stacks of how I work them. And what it does is it brings together all sorts of things. It brings together your attraction game more of a cycling constant throughout your set, and more things like frames propelling it, and using comfort and emotions to propel those sorts of frames. Jack D, what's up?
So let's say you're saying, well, two questions on this. First of all, you start this story as quickly as possible when you enter a set.
Well, every set's different, okay? Every set, what we're trying to do, obviously, is engineer how people interact. But every set's different. There's always going to be some amount of attraction material, but it's an attitude. It's an attitude which goes out there. And so you always need that. But at the same time, you should always be, well, you still have one more question, right?
Yes, thank you.
But you still, and we have to actually wrap up in like a few minutes, so I'll try and answer quick. But that comes with calibration. But dude, attraction literally lasts, dude, it's done within 2 minutes. If you're still working a traction game and 5 minutes has passed, you've probably, exercised that muscle enough and it's not gonna fucking work, all right? And you can keep trying and make it work, and I guarantee there's dudes that can make that shit happen. But it's something which is, you're always trying to get into some place where you can hit rapport, and where rapport is defined as is it's like you're at equal levels with somebody, right? You're at the same level. There's no longer some value scale bouncing it. Now that's always going to change throughout your set, and you need to use attraction to leverage it in. So that's how do we implement attraction? We do it with takeaways, we do it with things like negs, we do it with being dismissive, we do it with having fun. So that's always a factor in it. But in between that, you're always trying to pepper forward with some sort of material that can ground you and frame you. What's your second question?
If you have an external interrupt and you're in the middle of the story, do you come back on the story, or do you?
That's why you carry a knife or a gun. And what you do, and if they're fat, you can stab them in their fat and fuck the hole. But it feels good. It feels good. No, an external interrupt, that's why you got to isolate as much as possible, build compliance in your isolation, and also build compliance in how you're running that set. You state break, you start and stop, those types of things, and that will help you later. It won't guarantee that the interrupt will be diffused, but it's a technical thing that you can do to allow the set to continue on, that they're going to listen to your frame more. If you can begin their happiness, stop it, begin happiness again, and then move into something sexual, stop that state and start it again, those things will help. So that's why you want to build compliance immediately as soon as you do begin. All right, so anyway, how I want the second half to work after the awesome tape switch is the last half an hour I want to bring Entropy and Doc Holliday on stage, and we want to do some workshopping things. One of the reasons for that is because we are doing 3 workshops here, or 2 of them I'm doing with them. Tomorrow there's going to be a day game workshop that's going to be about an hour and a half seminar time, going over some drills, and then 3 hours in the field. It starts at noon, and it's a $500 deal. And Doc is mainly teaching that, and Entropy and myself are helping out. So there will be plenty of plenty of people to be out there in the field. Good instructor ratio. So that's $500. After that, I'm doing a stack seminar where basically we're going over a lot of the stuff I talk about, but I go over all the theory and write it all down, and you learn kind of the structure to what I'm doing, which is a little bit different than just me giving examples. But I come up with examples for you. The stacks that I write are usually like 30 plus pages long. It's like 90 minutes of material. What you walk out of there at a stack seminar is something more that's like about 25, 30 minutes of material. You can ask some guys around here have taken it. They know about it. They're peppered throughout the area. But J-Time and Home Run King has done it. And whatever his name, Negatron back there has done it. But there's a bunch of people who've been in Orlando who've worked with me in that capacity, and we'll let them speak, even though I say it's awesome. But that is $750, but that's tomorrow at 5. It'll probably go till like 9:30. Also, on Monday, we're doing something on Social Circle that Entropy is doing, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that stuff when they come up here in about 30 minutes. We're doing stuff on Social Circle, and then also working on like some attraction stacks, which is more attraction-based. That is a $400 deal, but what it'll be is have a lot to do with college campus. So anybody who attends a college, anybody who hangs out in a white van in front of a college, I recommend that you take it. Anybody, what's that? All right, I didn't say your name, man, but I didn't mention that there were no locks on the door and all that stuff and no windows, but anyway, it shows you those techniques that give you that edge to work kind of Social Circle through college, and also work on like some attraction material that will work a little bit better for that kind of quick-paced game. Whereas those are more like high-stimulus environments that would be nightclubs or areas that are very active and loud and quick and need efficiency in them. So those are things that are coming up. If you want to be involved in any of those, basically from our perspective is we want to work with anybody who wants to be a part of it. Talk to Fidelio back there. He's the guy who handed out those sheets of paper. Also, by the end of my speech, or probably when we break with to bring Entropy and Doc on, if we could tear off those back pages that have your contact info on them, that's how you will get any sort of phone consult and emails from me. And I promise not to blast your email with bestiality or gay porn, even though sometimes that can be fun. I see heads nod. What's that? Then let me know, and I can turn you on to some really good shit. That's, yes, dude, and then we'll do our phone consult while watching it. And I could kind of talk you through what the horses, dude, fuck, man. They always told me you can't milk a bull, but I saw Kingpin. I know better. That thing's like a fucking fire hose of, Jesus Christ. If you can get me on a blue whale, fuck, dude, because you climb in that urethra, it's like a sleeping bag. But anyway, so another things that I wanted to talk to you guys about that's relevant towards game in general. We always hear a lot about how you need to be in the moment. You need to be in the moment when you're working your sets, when you're talking to people, and whatever social presentation you're putting across. But one of the things that was always interesting to me was that your clarity was so dependent on your level of distraction. And one of the things that I've always noticed is how game was kind of set up. And now it's not necessarily like this anymore, but how I learned, and it definitely works, I'm not knocking it, was to be very high stimulus. You walk into a nightclub is endemically high stimulus. It is something where you have to have energy and attention, and we do all these things, we peacock, and we wear all sorts of fancy LED fucking things that talk about blue whales' penises, or whatever it is that gets you attention, but that's how I do it. But what that is we're working on a level of distraction. We're working on a level of distraction and not one of clarity. And that's actually one of the things why, how many guys here want to know more about day game, just in general? that it's a lot easier field to work in because you have all that pressure off. And the thing is that changes your game a little bit. Now, how game evolved and it hurdled through with a lot of the guys who you speak this weekend, it evolved through night game. It evolved through the clubs. It evolved through areas where you had to show yourself in the most bright, diamond-studded, backbone, penis, sort of whatever your necklace is, sort of way. But you should check out his necklace and guess what it is. Because it gives an odd illusion at first. But anyway, when it comes, does that mean it's like coal that comes out or diamonds? You got to check it out. In any case, but we all learned how to do things in those sorts of ways. And one of the interesting things about learning day game or learning social circle game or learning whatever it is style you want to do, we need to lessen that. And also, with all the stuff that people talk about now about being in the moment and having yourself there and being in the present and gaming from that rather than gaming from, I guess the past or the future, but gaming from all sorts of other hang-ups that we have about ourselves or about all sorts of unhealthy beliefs, empowering that, is that the less distractions you have with your life or with what you have going around you, the easier it is to go forward in game. I mean, how many guys have been out there and like fucking 20 goddamn openers and you've rehearsed them in front of the mirror naked after you told yourself you loved yourself 100 times? Dude, why are you guys laughing? All right. I'll continue on maybe, but I feel kind of hurt. But anyway, and you've done all that and you don't know what the fuck to say. Or how many of you guys have been there and you have all your openers memorized and you have this like fucking badass crazy transition that's about, bull testicles and how it goes into Red Bull and all this crazy shit, but then it makes you tired and that's why you drink 5-hour energy now. And you fucking don't have anything to say after that. Like, dude, I know you guys have like been there with it, where there's tons and tons of material that you have, yet at the same time you get across nothing. And then you get across nothing about yourself. And then you get across, you don't attract things to yourself that are of any sort of value to you, when game was all about value to begin with. But in any case, you lose momentum in those sorts of ways. So one of the things that I always like to do is I always like to keep things simple. Like what I tell guys to do in order to get good at this, in order to progress on at this, and to progress on in some sort of a lifestyle sort of way, is to do a few things. Keep a journal. Keeping a journal is good. Now, when I was told to keep a journal, I just kept it, and I forget the reasons why they told me. Yes? Oh, yeah, we're back with the microphone.
Goodness. It just seems like with everything you're saying, it's just like you try to build on, get a personal level with the girl and, just get, her interested and get her comfortable. But, would you recommend this sort of thing for, the club scene? Because you basically have to be in her ear to say these kind of things, and it might come off as creepy. You have to, be really close, and then she'd be like, what?
Yeah,
My mom died. My mom died.
Sorry, that's what I'd say would be a limiting belief, because I do this shit in clubs all the time. And in fact, there's people who I've worked with who I think do it in clubs, and you can talk to them about it, but it's fairly easy to isolate. Now, if a club is obviously loud and there's no place where they can hear you, yeah, but you want to game in a club where you can get into a strategic area where that can happen. And kind of how, maybe somebody has some model of this pheromonal mix or something, or Pua cologne or whatever it is, that will make you go into a club and girls' vaginas will magnetically come to you. But until that happens, there's usually a comfort stage which takes place, or a stage where rapport happens. And so you want to generally, logistically, pick clubs where you have an area where that can happen, where you can sit down or isolate off in some corner. But for the most part, these things, they're fairly easy to do. One of the things that I will say is, we're talking about a lot of the stuff you talk about in game, but you're communicating with your body language, you're communicating with your eye contact, your tonality, how you interact, whether your body rocking or moving them or whatever you want to call it, your touching, and then, of course, what you say. Now, in a higher stimulus environment, what you say is less important, and your body language is thus more important, and all those other things are more important. So those things do override, but in order to really get somewhere where you fucking get to be able to stick your dick into something that's not a glove or a piece of barbed wire or steel wool, kidding. I like it rough, and I like to be clean. It's nothing to joke about, man. So I would say if you're going to do that, you do want to have that an area where you can logistically facilitate, that sort of talking, and it's a lot easier than people think because people always bring that up. But in any case, I forget where the fuck I was at. Okay, so keeping a journal and things like that are very important. When you have a journal, you can do two things, and this is what everybody always says, and it's kind of different for me, but this does work, is that when you keep a journal, after every time you go out, you actually can go back and look back on it and see your growth. That's not the number one reason why most people say to do it. But what was helpful for me was that I could actually look at it while I'm writing it, and I'd write about different stuff, like, because I'd be with my friends and be like, oh, that bitch blew me out, and, she fucking is fat and stupid and whatever, and, I said this, and maybe that's why it didn't work, and your friends are like, yeah, or maybe you should have negged more, but you're going to write down stuff which is much more important, I think, towards gaming, and that's one of the processes of internalizing it, too, because when you have stuff actively, how your brain works is you have habits that you've built out throughout your life. And it's impossible to just go in there and break them, and be super alpha dude that's loud and leaning back and fucking, some sort of pussy magnet. But with, I don't have that pill developed yet, but it's in development. But in any case, you want to do things which begin that sort of thought process to cultivate and happen. And so keeping a journal, I've always felt was a good thing for that, because I would be able to slowly learn, how I worked and why I was doing things. And those things that I wasn't debriefing with my friends about, those things that I was writing down and saying like, oh man, at this point I think I lost it, but maybe I didn't. And it's just a slow process which helps you evolve that sort of thought. The second thing I would do is that you would go out and practice as much as possible. Now, unless you're insane, like myself and a few other people in the room, you're going to go out 3 to 4 times a week and practice in a club. That's hard. Now, not everybody can do that. Some people have school, some people want to do stuff in the daytime, but the thing is that you actively practice this stuff 4 times a week. Whether it's once that day or 10 times that day, that's the important thing, that you're keeping it in your brain. And that's the thing, is you're building a routine, you're building an action. Just like I was saying, I have friends in the military who get up and run every morning. I wish I did that, because that would change things with my stamina and endurance, but whatever. But anyway, there's people that get up and do things every morning. Now, I'm not saying you need to go out and you need to exercise. That's always a good recommendation from people. But you should make habits that coincide with the lifestyle of this, all right? That makes it very easy. And so if you're practicing these things, even if you're going up and talking to somebody and you're saying like, hey, dude, how are you? Awesome, man. Nobody asks that anymore. You know what the weirdest thing is? Like, what's the first or second, thing somebody asks you when you meet them? And they'll say like, well, what do you do for work? Or what's your name? Or something like that. You go, dude, it's so weird, because when I was growing up, like, fuck. Dude, it was so much different. That was like the last thing anybody ever wanted to know. And dude, whatever, man, I'm just shooting the shit and talking to you, but you seem really cool, blah, blah, blah. You can begin, but you're practicing these things. You're keeping these muscles exercised. That is something which is like vital towards it. So that's the second thing, you practice. Whether it's once a day, twice a day, 20 fucking times a day, you are consistently keeping this in the forefront of your mind. And then afterwards, write in your journal about it. I would say the other thing which is very important that nobody's gonna fucking wanna do, but every goddamn piece of shit community theater actor does this when they have 10 people who watch their whole play in its entirety. They will record themselves, they'll stand in front of the mirror, they'll be very critical of their presentation. And when you're doing things like standing in front of the mirror, when you're doing things like listening to your own voice, practicing whatever it is. Maybe you want to learn specific routines. Maybe you want to just learn how to present yourself with different tonality, with different body language, is to work in front of the mirror like 3 to 4 times a week for 15 minutes a day. We'll go 10. You're going to hate it at first, but then afterwards, you do that, naked I love you thing in the mirror. It all becomes narcissistic. And then I'm telling you, in like 3 months down the road, you won't even need sex. You'll just look at yourself. but seriously, working in front of the mirror is a good thing to help you internalize, to one, know how you look, know how you come off, know how you're presenting yourself to people. And it's something which is like, you can calibrate off of that. And when you watch yourself more, when you know what you're putting off, you're going to learn how to read yourself. And when you learn how to read yourself, you can learn how to read other people. And it's an awesome thing. So anytime you have like whatever, routines or just conveyances that you want to put off, they're a good thing to practice. But I always say like 3 times a week, 4 times a week, 10, 15 minutes a day is always a good thing. Now the last thing is to once a week. Now you guys took like shitloads of notes, I'm sure, well hopefully, during this. And you probably have like books. Some of you guys have done workshops. Maybe some of you guys will do our workshop coming up and then be able to kick the world in half, as Future would always love to say. Or it's actually kick the world in half. But anyway, some of you guys have done all those things and you have a lot of information. There's a lot of information about this. In fact, I heard, of the speakers I heard, we were all kind of saying similar things, but in different ways. Pick whatever notes you like, books that you like. If you've taken a workshop, notes from that, and study them just once a week. You don't want to be that guy that is studying them fucking, I don't know, once a day. You want to look at them once a week. Because again, those things are things that you want to have orchestrating in the back of your mind to later manifest when you're going out. When you're going out in the field and doing your thing and having fun and working from those good motivators, working from those things which are inspiring. You want to have those things driving you. Now the thing is it doesn't work over time, but over about 4 weeks, these things start to manifest in yourself. Now also, in that once a week, when you do your reviews, that once a week, you should make your goals. Make your goals for the week. Now, a lot of times how I break things down is I break them up into your tools of game and how to implement them. We won't get too much into that, but if you want to ask me at any point, I can talk to you about them. But make your goals to be very small and something that's doable. Pick 3 things. I want my body language to be better. I want my delivery to be good. I want to move a set. I want to move a set, and I want to work up logistics for a day too. I want to work a poll, whatever the hell it is. Dude, I meant an actual polling from the. You're fucking disturbed, dude. What did your brother teach you? What kind of a role model? But anyway, you come up with your goals and you want to work those out. So at the end of the week, beginning of the week, whenever you want to make it, when you create that list and you're reviewing your notes and you're going like, shit, man, I saw Sin talk about this, I saw, so-and-so talk about this, I saw this and that. Man, I want to work on that. Pick that. Then when you go out 3 to 4 times a week, go and do it. Let's say it's a social pressure exercise. You're going to go up to the fucking chick at Starbucks and say like, I got cockroaches in my pants, want to see? And then really have your dick out. And then that'll show them. Dude, let me just tell you, in about 2 minutes, Doc is going to come up on stage with me and we're going to skewer our penises together because we all have them pierced. But you know what a funny thing is when I was 17, like I said, I did a lot of weird stuff. So my friends and I were fucking like, we were like, sitting there like, dude, let's get Prince Albert's, man. And I'm like, all right, I'm like, yeah, you guys like me? We're going to go get. That's when it's a certain type of piercing that goes in your dick. So I got it, and it was the most fun to show like my parents and family. And I'd have like a newspaper in front of I'd be sitting down and have like a newspaper in front of me. And I'd be like, dude, look at this fucking shit. and that was like payback to my mom. But, whatever. In any case, it's a little trick for later. But yeah, time-wise, how are we doing? No? Yeah. Dude, let's come up. So what we want to do is let's bring up like Doc and let's bring up entropy. And what we wanted to do was we wanted to leave you guys with something to walk away with, as if I didn't do enough slaving over you on this stage. But anyway, I wanted to bring them up and start doing a little bit of demonstrations of, one, what we're going to be doing tomorrow and Monday, but also stuff that you guys can walk away with. Doc, I know, is going to be talking about some things in pertaining towards day game, and Entropy is going to be talking about things pertaining towards, I don't know, swimming in the pool and college and generally talking. So we need the wireless microphone for this. And also, it was Doc's birthday last night.
Today.
Oh, today.
I have a mic, I don't need that one.
Oh, yeah, shit.
I'm
You're
wireless.
like Johnny Carson.
Hello.
Okay, hey, so this is Entropy, and this is Doc. Again, like I said, tomorrow we're doing those programs. Did you want to start off and go over some like day game stuff?
Yeah, sure. If you want to like go over there. And what I want to do is, I guess, give you the real like 1 minute intro of me, I guess, so you just know like who the fuck is this kid with a mohawk. I came into the community about 2.5 years ago when I was a little over 18. I was a virgin at the time, and I'm in Boston. There's no 18 plus scene for clubs there. So I was doing a shit ton of day game, going out like 5 days a week, doing 5 to 10 sets a day. And I did that for 6 months and got no results. And the reason was because I was doing exactly like what I read in the VAH for like typical like night game during the day. And it was just weird and it didn't work. So I'm like, all right, well, something's wrong here. So I took a program with Sin, lost my virginity that night. And yeah, there you go, there's the plug for Sin. He will take your virginity. So from there, I started going out even more. So like for the next like another 6 months, like 7 days a week, 7 sets a day, like that was my fucking thing, man. And I started getting good. But the problem was that I had no like inner game. It was all outer game. And I'm like, all right, well, what now? More training, I guess. So I did another program with Sin and Future at the time. And I talked to, Sin afterwards, and he's like, well, blah, 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 talking about like actually like finding myself. And I took a break. For about 3 months over a summer, I didn't go out at all, really. I had like one new lay over like 3 months or something stupid. And I just did like soul searching, as like homosexual as that sounds. And came back and like my results skyrocketed. And then whatever, fast forward a little bit, hooked up with Steve, his LRs fucking changed everything. And his stacking stuff, I started implementing it into my day game, so we sort of have a parallel here. So what I want to do is have any volunteer come up, and you can pretend that I'm a really hot girl with a tight ass, and you can open me like you would during the day. Does anyone have the kahunas? Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right.
Can we make fun of them?
Yeah, well, that's what we do afterwards.
Steve and I will make fun of him.
Right. You want me to step down here, or we can? All right. I'm just gonna be minding my own business.
God damn it.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad.
Yeah. All right.
I like your hair.
Thank you.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I thought you were like one of those bratty girls, huh?
Maybe. All right, that's enough. So, what I want to do now is sort of give you a little model for day game. And I guess you can sit down. I may pull you back up.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I may pull you back up.
Yeah. All right. So, that's what happens. Like, you go out and you're like, well, fuck, I don't have anything to say. Especially during the day, like it's an awkward situation. So I want to give you guys a little model, and it's tough because I don't have something to write it down, but like if you guys keep track on your paper, maybe it'll all make sense at the end of it. So for opening, and like as I go, I also want to like critique his shit. With opening, you want to give women personal space and not touch them during the day. Like that is the easiest way to blow you out. Like, you come up behind like some girl you don't know during the day, and you touch her, she's gonna jump, she's gonna scream, she's gonna mace you. Maybe you wanna get maced, I don't know. But, so what it would be, you wanna give them some personal space, yeah. Steve, touch all you want. I think if you go up and like...
You ever have a girl that squirts who has an STD? It's kind of like that.
It's kind of like Mace, right?
Yeah. It's like a water pick, too.
Yes. So you want to give them some personal space and not touch them. I say like a good 4 or 5 feet. Like if you ever look up like fucking space bubbles and shit, like personal space, all these people did research on it. Like once you're within like 4 feet of someone, you're in like their intimate space, or their personal space, and then within like a 1.5 feet is intimate, whatever. So you want to be right outside of personal space and like social space or whatever. Lots of space. So you want to give them some room, and I'm a big fan of direct during the day. So I'll go up and I'll be like, you know, since you're a little further away, you have to project your voice just a bit to like let them know that you're talking to them, but you also don't want to be like so loud. Like leave your nightclub voice at home, you know. Calibrate to the situation. If you're in Abercrombie, yeah, they have music. Okay, you can be a little louder. In the bookstore, tone it down. So I'll go and I'll be like, hey, you know, she'll look. Be like, I know this is like completely random, but like I just had to come meet you. And then I'll introduce myself, I'm Mickey. And then you can close that space gap. So like if Mark is the girl and I'm opening here, then once I can introduce myself, I can take a step forward, put out my hand, and she'll shake it and introduce herself. Now we're a little closer. If she's not comfortable, she'll back up on her own. I can take a step back, and now no one's intruding or anything. So that would be your opener. Now right off the bat, your reaction is usually, yes?
Okay, what you're talking about right now is like girls or targets that are basically not moving, right? What about moving sets?
That's a whole nother topic. I only have like 25 minutes, so I gotta... This is like stationary single girl in day game. We can talk about group sets, you can talk about moving girls, but that takes a lot of time.
If they're moving in a wheelchair, you can throw some like stuff on the ground.
Yes!
And then you can help them.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I just want to make sure you're talking about.
Yeah, no, a stationary girl. So like a girl who's shopping in a store, a girl who's sitting on a park bench getting coffee in the food
Hospital
court.
bed.
Yeah.
Like that.
Anything you want. All right, so, Jesus Christ.
Sorry.
So your initial reaction from that is gonna be like lukewarm. Like you will get like, oh my God, that's so flattering, or you will get them where they reject you by saying they have a boyfriend or whatever. But usually they're just gonna be like a little taken aback, a little flattered, not knowing what the fuck is up. So you need to lead the conversation from there, and I like to do that with a cold read. So right off the bat, I'll be like, you know, like, I don't know, something about you, like you really seem like a California girl. Like if I'm right, cool, if I'm wrong, it doesn't fucking matter. She's gonna say where she's actually from. She'll be like, no, I'm actually from, you know, fuck it, New York. Right? And I'm like, dude, no way, blah, blah, blah. And you can vibe about New York for a minute. So like the structure so far has been like open, cold read, and then I'll just call it like fluff talk about where she's from. Or she'll ask you where you're from, like it starts to get into that little dynamic. You can throw in a little attraction switch if you want. Be like, no way, my ex-girlfriend was from New York, and like we blah, 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 blah there, right? You throw that shit in if you want to. But, so then from there, you'll talk for a minute. And once again, you're gonna wanna like, all of day game is comfort and qualification based. Like attraction is like bullshit during the day. Like you having the balls to approach her like that should be enough to get you the attraction you need. Also, you know, your nonverbals, your body language, vocal tonality, where you're dressed. A lot of you are in good shape. A lot of you are good looking. All those things are gonna help you. You know, having a cool haircut, all that shit, it goes a long way. It's sort of like passive value you have before you even do anything. So then you're gonna wanna enter qualification from there after you fluff for a second. So you can just be like, so, like, what do you do when you're not here? Sort of like a medium level qualification thing. And a lot of times they'll give you like the sort of bullshit response. They'll be like, I work, I hang out with friends, you know, I dance, whatever their shit is, right? Like they don't know how much you want from them, so they're gonna give you just a little bit. But you wanna go deeper than that, so you can like tease them a little bit. You'd be like, wow, you hang out with friends? You know, me too, cool, right? You know, it's not like hardcore teasing, it's just enough like you're keeping it playful, friendly, and like calling them out on their like shit. So to get them to open up more, which is your ultimate goal here, qualification and comfort, you need to share yourself. And this is where like, sort of, I start implementing red stack stuff, as far as like pulling in like the stories that Steve was creating.
Stealing.
Like, yes,
Stealing.
robbing his shit right through, never mind.
Didn't even have time to digest. He pulled
That's
it out
right.
so fast.
So then I'll like go into like my grounding story and start like filling in like who I am, like my life. And I'll be like, so like, I'll be like, dude, you have friends? You know, cool, me too. And then I'll be like, then I become serious. It's like, no, but seriously. Like for me, and like I'll talk about my shit, like when I'm not doing this, I work in film. So I'll be like, no, but seriously, like I work in film and like, it's pretty cool because like I've always been so fascinated with like movies and like how they're made. Like even as like a little kid, I'd like watch the same movies over and over again and like look at the cuts and like how they're pieced together and shit. I go into that and they'd be like, wow, that's really cool. I'd be like, so dude, like seriously, then I go for the hard qualification. I'm like, yeah, you hang out with friends, yeah, you work, whatever, but like what do you actually do? Like what are you passionate about? And then sort of on like that go first principle or whatever you want to call it, like you opening up first, will get her to start sharing about herself. Is this all making sense? I'm going a little fast, but we don't have a lot of time. Okay, cool. I'm getting a lot of blank stares. It's good. So that is like a little structure right there, and that'll put you into like the first like 7 minutes of conversation. And after that, like you'll notice the girls, like they sort of become invested, and you can either like keep going deeper with it, like opening yourself up more and like getting them to do the same, or you can just let it sort of become like surface level conversation where they'll start like asking you rapport seeking questions, sort of, and girls like suck at that shit. So it's gonna be like the most obvious thing. They'll be like, oh, what does your tattoo say? Oh, what kind of films do you make? All those things, like, where are you from? And they'll start going with that. They start to try and like insert more into the conversation. You just want to make sure from there you're leading it. But after that point, that is enough to get you a phone number that should not flake. Like that is all you need. And then, you need to follow up on the phone, text messaging, figure out, your date strategy and all that shit. But that is like really all it takes to get a number in day game. Like it's not that like complicated. It's very simple. So I guess, how am I doing on time? Anybody?
I don't know.
Yeah?
I have no watch.
All right, cool. I'm just going to keep talking then.
But actually, let me say, so like in taking the seminar with Mickey tomorrow, it's obviously an Infield thing, but theory-wise, what it's designed to do is to be able to get you a number and get you started on like a day 2 situation and those types of things. If I can just add.
Yes.
In terms of numbers are something which, everybody's always excited to get, and it's always like, man, that's like step 1, and everybody's, gaming development, or that's the way for you to calibrate if you don't know where you're going when you try a new phase of game, possibly. But how to get them to not flake, there's all sorts of nuances that you can do, but a few technical things you can do. 2 of them would be 1, start to seed something, some sort of day 2 to bring it up, using ideas of bait with it. So it's not just like, hey, I have this amazing thing planned. You have to come, give me your number. Maybe something will happen. It should have a little bit of that vibe of baiting in it, which would be something like, you know what, dude, you're totally awesome. Like I got to run. I know we just met, but like I have the perfect thing planned, and you would totally dig on it. I know we just met or whatever, but like, dude, give me your number, and it's so gonna happen. So if it has that element to it. Now the second part of it would be that I'd say a technical thing you could do is to seed some sort of emotional connection, which I kind of did in that one. But if you say, like, man, I don't fucking know, but dude, you're awesome. Like you're somebody that I totally fucking like vibe with, and you know it. Like that sort of emotional connection there will help big time. That was like my only fucking way to make numbers stick in the beginning, because I was always so like ethereal and artsy and kind of cherub-like with wings. You should see me in diapers with angel wings. It's pretty awesome. But anyway, I would always put that out there, and that would make my numbers stick, and it would make them stick for a long fucking time. Like I'd meet somebody in Vegas and like just email them, and then next time I was there, months later, it would still work, and they'd still want to talk to me because I'd always build that like kind of cold read of emotional connection. Sorry.
Yeah, well, no, that was excellent. Thank you. Yeah. I guess, like, first of all, does that model sort of make sense to you? Like, did you get enough out of that? Like, I went very quickly, but like all you're doing with it is building comfort and qualifying them. Like, that's all it comes down to. And like the more like comfort you can build during the day, the less likely the number is to flake. Like, they're directly proportional. More comfort, less flakage. Yes?
I have a question. I have read somewhere that like you have to do a lot of Kino, like what you're doing, but in day game, as you said, like to not invade personal space. How would you go about that?
Yeah, my touching during the day is when I shake her hand, and that's where it ends. There's no reason to touch them during the day. Like, if you think about it, at night game, you escalate your touching because you want makeouts, you want blowjobs in the bathroom, You want to take them home and fuck them, right? Like, that's what you're pushing towards at night. During the day, you're going, like, the model is from meet to phone number. Now, same-day lays do happen. Like, there have been instances where I've met a girl at this place and then gone back to her place or mine with no break in between and we've had sex. But it's not the norm. It's, you know, it's not something that happens all the time. Like, your structure is from meet to phone number, and to get a phone number, you need no touching. There's no reason for it. And then the other thing, it just really creeps them out. Like, you can do, like, some light stuff, like, you can be like, you know, fist bump, high five, something like that, but, like, there's no reason to, like, be really escalating your touching. It just, like, as soon as you see them on the date, you can greet them with a hug and then just go from there and build up.
I have this whole routine where I have rubber gloves and a mask and say I'm a gynecologist, and I can smell that she needs a checkout. Sometimes it works, and then there's also, I have a box in an alley which says I give abortions with a hungry rat though instead of a coat hanger, and then I stick my dick in.
Yeah.
I say, fooled you. Jesus. Anybody who's dumb enough to fall for that, they deserve to know.
I know.
So I guess that about wraps it up.
I think that,
No, actually, but
I was
seriously.
tempted to talk more about day game, but I feel like
Sorry. No, okay, but here's the thing, guys, is if you guys do want to take these programs, we actually want to teach them to anybody who wants to learn them. And one of the things that I told Fidelio or Otto or whatever you want to call his name back there is if you are interested, talk to him about it and, you know, work whatever fucking shit out. Because we came here to teach and to share, and I know this is a convention where you're learning a lot of stuff, but if you are interested in doing something individually, you know, let's do it. It's for the day game course, it's a $500 thing. For the stack thing, if you attended this, you get $100 off, so it's $650, normally $750. And then for the thing with Mark and I on Monday, it's a $400 thing, and if you do them all, like there's this weird package price that I forget. But again,
it's basically if you do the Infield day game and then the social circle college game thing with Steve and Mark, it's $750 for both of them as opposed to $900. Was that our package deal?
Yeah, but if you guys are interested, talk to us or talk to Fidelio back there who's standing up, and you know, whatever. He'll just sign your life away. We have contracts. If you have children, you can use them as collateral. It's all good. But in any case, also talk to us. Talk to us afterwards. We're doing a layer talk for the top layer right after this. We're going to have a Q&A, and you know, with all the instructors, whoever's around, for you guys to ask us questions. And then we're going to do a top layer talk somewhere in this hotel room. I forget where. I guess so. So we're going to be doing it out there for the top layer. You guys are welcome to attend. We're going to be talking about different stuff, actually. And I don't know who of you guys came to dinner last night, but I know a decent amount of you guys did. It's all of us, and actually a lot of the instructors here are about, you know, we're very personable people, and we're definitely here to teach, and we're definitely here to meet all you guys and shake your hands and then see you next time we come around. So that being said, woohoo. If you could tear off that contact sheet at the back and just, if you leave it on the table or you hand it to Fidelio, I would much appreciate it. And we'll get in contact with you soon. How are we doing on time?
I don't know. If you would just remind everybody about the feedback form.
Oh yeah, there's also a feedback form on there.
Yeah, like second to last page, if you want to turn that off too, I mean, it really helps us a lot. Sometimes you get critiques like, hey, Steve, I thought you were all over the place or whatever. We need that stuff.
Don't plan them with
It
thoughts.
helps with planning and stuff like that. I don't want to hassle you, but if you get a chance, I'd really appreciate you putting down some feedback.
And
pluses or minuses, it really helps a lot.
If you don't want to fill out the feedback form right now, that's fine. Email it to us, but if you do fill it back here, just leave it on the table or hand it to one of us. We have a solid 10 minutes. That's better than a loose 10 minutes. Anyway, I won't continue.
well, we can skewer, you know, we were gonna.
Skewer!
Barbecue, yeah.
Dude, who has any questions in pertinence to some of the courses we're teaching tomorrow, or some of the things about day game or social circle game? I know that Braddock gave a talk about social circle. I know that AFC Adam came up with it. I know that he was talking about it too. But what the stuff that Mark's teaching is a little bit different.
I could talk about it briefly.
But if anybody wants to ask questions,
Okay, just a brief intro to myself. I'll stand in the middle here. A very quick intro to myself. My handle is Entropy. Doc and I teach together up in the Northeast. We're based out of Boston. It's funny, we were out with Sin and El Topo and a couple other guys last night, and it was Doc's 21st birthday. And of course, we were getting him absolutely plastered. And Sin was like, my 21st kind of sucked because I was on boot camp. And I'm like, dude, that's nothing. My 21st birthday, I was on the phone to my long-distance girlfriend because I told her she was more important than my friends and like going out and getting drunk. So that's kind of like gives you a picture of where I come from. And
At least you had a girlfriend.
yeah, at least I had a girlfriend. I did, a lot of people do the 5-year plan in college. I did the 6-year plan. Like, I did 2 years, and then I was like, wait, I want to start over. So I went to another school, and I did 4 years. All in all, I did 11 semesters. And the thing is if there was anything that I was natural with when I came to this, it was college social circle stuff. Like, that's all I could really do. If you remember, Adam talked about, the confidence and the abundance. Like, I had the abundance nailed. And the interesting thing is I've been teaching for almost a year now, and I get a lot of young guys, and they'll come up and they'll talk to me. They'll be like, hey, what's a good opener to use? They're like, I go to UMass. Like, what opener should I use in the cafeteria? Or like, what opener should I use in my dorm? And stuff like this. And I'm like, why are you wandering around your dorm like cold approaching? Like, dude, you're in college. Like, you have 100 other things you could be doing. And what I always tell them is I say, college, like university, is the easiest place on earth to network socially. Like, bar none, by far. And guys need to take advantage of that. You have the rest of your life to cold approach. You have the rest of your life to go to clubs and do stupid dance floor stuff. You have the rest of your life to, follow girls around the mall and, put on a mask and gloves. But you only get 4 years of college, or if you're lucky, 5. Or if you're like me, 6. And you need to take advantage of that. And so, kind of what the seminar is based on, a lot of it is what I did. Because by the end of my senior year, it's very similar. Like my results were very similar to what Adam talked about. Like, once I got into the game, I just applied it to my college social circles, and they just exploded. And I talk about how the college party scene operates on campuses and how you can network yourself through those college parties, and you kind of create this web of social circles. It's not one big circle, it's like an entire web of them, and you get to the point where you are known as kind of like the party guy in every party spot, and then you leverage these parties and your knowledge of the campus social scene for, if you're in class, you sit next to the cute girl, and the professor, has his fly undone, and so you make a stupid comment, and then, you talk to her about homework, and then you're like, hey, I'm going to a party tonight. My buddy is throwing this and that. You should come out. You leverage these parties. You do these very, very casual, very simple openers, very simple conversations. They're all situational. There's really nothing to them. And then you leverage these parties in this giant social scene and your knowledge of it to pull these girls into your social circle. And what ends up happening is the massive amounts of social proof. You get to the point where you're throwing parties where 80 girls will show up, and and then probably 50 guys in tow. And out of those 80, 60 of them know you, and you've probably hooked up with 15 or 20 of them. And so they're all jealous of each other, and the social proof is just through the roof. And all the guys want to meet you because you're the fucking pimp who's throwing this party. And and it just kind of builds on itself exponentially. You go to other people's parties, like you walk in the door, there's 30 girls there, 15 of them already know you. They all stop and say hi, they all hug you, they're drunk, they're excited. All the guys in the room are like, who the fuck is this guy? I need to meet this guy. Social proof just keeps building and building, and the idea is you get to the point where you basically, you just show up, and that's where you want to be. And the beautiful thing about college is it's the easiest place to do this. You have all the classroom stuff, all the extracurricular stuff, fraternities, sororities. You can even do like the campus bars, the campus clubs, and then you have the college party networks, the dorm rooms. This is all shit that I'm gonna go into. This is all shit that I lived for years. So if you're interested, you should definitely talk to me or Fidelio afterwards. I'm really excited about this. I feel like it's a topic that really doesn't get talked about enough in the community. I feel like that the community, I don't know, it's general pickup knowledge, general PUA knowledge. I feel like it shouldn't be used on college campuses. 80% of what you know about pickup shouldn't even cross your mind when you're in a lot of these college parties. So that's the kind of stuff I want to talk about.
Okay. So let's wrap it up by saying you can get a hold of me, eltopopua@gmail.com, or you can do eltopopua.com, or you can look at my blog, which is listed conveniently on your sheets, which is the-red-mole.blogspot.com. And these guys' stuff.
You can reach me at entropy@practicalpickup.com. Our website is practicalpickup.com, and my blog is entropypua.com.
All right. You can reach me at doc@practicalpickup.com and www.docholidaypua.com. There are 2 L's in holiday.
I made that mistake many a time.
And everyone makes that
Many a
mistake. My
times.
name badge made that mistake. All right.
Jesus.
You're not bitter, right?
And also, guys, let's give it up for Dream for making this happen. Next year, it will be hopefully bigger and better, and it was better than it was last year, and da 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 da.